There is a language spoken in every room you enter, and you have never been taught to hear it. It is spoken in the half second before someone answers your question. It is spoken in the direction a person's feet point while their mouth says one thing and their body says another. Right now, in every conversation you have, people are telling you the truth about themselves, and you are missing it because you have been trained since childhood to listen only to words. Words are the least honest part of any human being. They are rehearsed, polished, chosen for effect. But the body cannot lie with the same fluency. It leaks, it betrays. It confesses in silence what the mouth was built to conceal. And the moment you learn to read this second language, you will never again be fooled the way you have been fooled your entire life. By smiles that meant nothing, by warmth that was performance, by confidence that was armor over fear. Most people move through the world as if every person they meet is exactly who they present themselves to be. This is the great comfortable illusion of untrained mind. You meet a colleague who greets you with a wide smile and firm handshake, and you take this at face value, friendly, trustworthy, glad to see you. You do not notice that the smile arrived a half second too late, activated only after the eyes had already finished their calculation. You do not notice that the handshake, though firm, pulled away a fraction too quickly, as though touch itself were an inconvenience to be endured. This is the pattern that governs almost every human interaction you will ever have. The performance is loud and the truth is quiet. The performance shouts, the truth whispers, and whispers are easy to miss if you have never trained yourself to listen for them. Consider the friend who tells you they are totally fine with a decision you made without consulting them. Their words are generous. Their arms, however, have folded themselves across their chest without permission, sealing the body off like a door closing. Their voice has flattened, losing the natural rise and fall it carries when they speak about things that do not wound them. You hear the sentence. You do not hear the body's rebuttal running underneath it. A second conversation happening in real time, contradicting the first. This is happening constantly in boardrooms and bedrooms, in negotiations and first dates, in job interviews and family dinners. A war between what people say and what their nervous systems cannot help but reveal. The few who learn to notice this war gain something close to a superpower. Everyone else remains at the mercy of surfaces. Think of the coworker who agrees enthusiastically to a new project in the meeting, nodding, saying all the right things. And then, in the hallway afterward, exhales a breath they had been holding, shoulders dropping an inch, jaw unclenching. That exhale was the truth. The meeting was the performance. Think of the stranger at a party who tells an animated story, hands moving, voice rising, and yet keeps glancing every few seconds toward the door. Somewhere in their body, an old and honest part of them is asking permission to leave, even as the mouth continues the story. Think of the date who compliments you warmly while their torso remains angled 30 degrees away, feet pointed toward the exit, a subtle geometry of retreat dressed up in pleasant words. You have witnessed all of this before dozens of times, hundreds of times. You simply did not have the vocabulary to translate it, and so it passed through you unregistered, like a radio signal broadcasting on a frequency you had never tuned your dial to reach. This blindness is not your fault. You were never taught this language, because the people who benefit most from your blindness have no interest in teaching it to you. The confident liar depends on your inability to see past his confidence. The manipulator depends on your instinct to trust warmth on the surface. The entire architecture of social performance, politeness, professionalism, charm, exists partly to keep the deeper signals hidden from untrained eyes. And so generation after generation, most people go through life reading only headlines, never the fine print written in posture, breath, and micro-expression. They are perpetually surprised by betrayals that were, in truth, visible for weeks. They are perpetually shocked when the nice person turns out to have been calculating all along, when the signs were there the entire time, written across 100 small gestures that were never nice at all, only unread. Throughout history, those who rose to real power understood that words were the least reliable currency in any negotiation, any court, any battlefield of human relations. Ancient generals did not simply listen to what rival commanders said in councils and treaties. They studied how the rivals' men stood, how quickly messengers moved, where hesitation crept into confident speech. In the courts of old kings, the sharpest advisors were not the ones who listened hardest to declarations of loyalty. Every courtier declared loyalty that cost nothing and meant less, but the ones who watched, whose eyes drifted toward the throne when they thought no one was looking, whose hands stilled at the mention of a rival's name, whose breathing changed when a particular subject arose. Power has always belonged to those who could read the unspoken layer beneath the spoken one. This is not a modern invention of psychology textbooks. It is one of the oldest survival skills our species ever developed, buried deep in instinct long before language existed at all. Before humans had words, they had only bodies and the ability to read danger, deception, and desire in another creature's posture was the difference between living and dying. That ancient circuitry never left us. It is still running quietly beneath every conversation you have. You have simply forgotten how to consult it consciously. Here is a truth that sounds almost too simple to be profound, and yet very few people ever act on it. The body always tells the truth first, and the mind edits the story second. There is a lag between authentic reaction and constructed response, a window, sometimes less than a second, where the real self flickers into view before the social mask reassembles itself. Watch for that flicker and you will see more in an instant than most people see in a year of conversation. The untrained eye watches faces. The trained eye watches the transition between expressions, the half-second collapse before the recovery, the genuine wince before the practiced smile paints over it. This is where truth lives, not in the mask, and not even fully in the moment before the mask, but in the seam between the two, the place where the stitching shows. Notice, too, that congruence is rarer than performance. When a person's words, tone, and body all say the same thing at the same time, you are likely witnessing something honest. When even one of these channels contradicts the others, enthusiastic words paired with a flat voice, warm language paired with a closed and retreating body, you are witnessing a conflict between what someone wants you to believe and what they actually feel. This is not a trick you need years to master. It is a discipline of attention, and attention is a muscle that strengthens the moment you decide to use it. Most people never decide. They drift through every interaction on autopilot, absorbing only the loudest signal, the words, because words are easy and everything else requires presence. Presence is the price of this skill. It cannot be faked, outsourced, or rushed. You must actually be in the room, watching, rather than lost inside your own head rehearsing what you will say next. There is a particular kind of power that comes from being the only person in the room who is actually paying attention, while others are absorbed in their own performance, crafting their next sentence, managing their own image. The person who has trained their eye is quietly collecting information nobody else in the room even knows they are broadcasting. This asymmetry is enormous. It means you walk into negotiations knowing which offers make the other side uncomfortable before they say a word about it. It means you sit across from someone claiming certainty and can see in the stillness of their hands or the timing of their blink rate that underneath the certainty is doubt they have not admitted even to themselves. Weak observers wait to be told the truth. Those who understand human nature extract it silently from everything that is never said aloud. Weak people believe that politeness is honesty. Powerful people understand that politeness is often the costume honesty wears when it does not feel safe to appear undisguised. Weak people take comfort in reassurance. Don't worry, everything is fine, and stop looking the moment they hear the words they wanted to hear. Powerful people treat reassurance as a starting point for observation, not an ending point for trust. They watch to see if the body confirms what the mouth just promised. Weak people are flattered by warmth and drop their guard the instant someone smiles at them. Powerful people know that warmth is cheap to produce and ask instead whether the warmth is accompanied by openness, uncrossed limbs, steady eye contact that does not calculate, a voice that rises and falls with natural feeling rather than performing a script. This is not cynicism, it is precision. The emotionally masterful are not colder than everyone else, they are simply more accurate. Because accuracy, not suspicion, is the actual goal. Adopt this as an internal rule, and your entire experience of other people will begin to shift. Before you believe what someone tells you, look first at what their body has already told you, because the body speaks before the strategy has finished forming. Adopt a second rule alongside it. Silence is a magnifying glass. When you say less, others fill the space, and in that filling, they reveal far more than they intend. A nervous laugh where none is needed, a story elaborated further than the question required, a sudden shift in posture when a topic edges too close to something they wish to avoid. Those who talk the most in a room are rarely the ones learning the most about it. And adopt a third rule, perhaps the most liberating of all: do not merely read others. Become unreadable yourself when it serves you, and transparent when it serves you, by choice rather than by accident. Most people leak information constantly, involuntarily, because they have never considered that their own body is a broadcast. Once you understand how loudly bodies speak, you gain the power to control your own signal as deliberately as you now read everyone else's. This is the quiet transformation that occurs once this skill takes root in you. Rooms no longer feel the same. A meeting is no longer simply an exchange of statements. It becomes a landscape of tension and ease, of genuine agreement and reluctant compliance, visible if you know where to look. A first date is no longer just conversation. It is a live negotiation of comfort and interest, written across posture, distance, and the direction two bodies choose to face. You begin to notice the friend who says, "I'm happy for you," while their smile fails to reach their eyes, and rather than feeling foolish for almost missing it, you feel something closer to clarity, a sense that the fog has lifted slightly on a world that was always more honest than you had been trained to see. And here is the deeper reward, the one beyond mere advantage in negotiation or protection from deception. When you learn to read the unspoken language fluently, you develop compassion as well as caution. You begin to see the fear behind someone's bravado, the loneliness behind someone's constant need to perform, the old wound behind a stranger's defensive posture. Reading people is not only a tool for protection against manipulation, it is also a doorway into a deeper, more honest understanding of the people around you, including the ones you love, whose unspoken signals you may have been missing for years, mistaking silence for indifference when it was, in fact, a body straining under weight it did not know how to put into words. You began this moment believing that people tell you who they are through what they say. You now understand something far more useful and far more permanent. People tell you who they are constantly, in every gesture, every pause, every flicker of expression that arrives before the mask does. And the mouth is often the last and least reliable witness to call. From here forward, the handshake that ends a fraction too soon will not slip past you unnoticed. The smile that arrives a half-second late will register quietly as data rather than warmth. The crossed arms during a reassuring sentence will speak louder to you than the sentence itself. You are not becoming paranoid. You are becoming precise. There is a particular kind of power in never again being the last person in the room to know the truth. The next time it happens, the smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the confidence that doesn't reach the hands, you will not simply react, you will see it. And once you have truly seen it, you can never again be fully blind to it.